Hi, not for the first time. European capitals are gripped with apprehension that Russian President Vladimir Putin will surgically divide the transatlantic alliance as well as get everything he wants in Ukraine. Ahead of the suddenly announced summit in Alaska on Friday between Putin and US President Donald Trump, one European diplomat, who declined to be named as they were not authorized to speak on the record, told CNN, "We are at risk of being a footnote in history." In part, European fears are down to just how little is known about what the Kremlin has proposed in order to halt the fighting in Ukraine. Putin has given no details. U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff said nothing after his meeting with the Russian leader last Wednesday. Trump himself said after Witkoff left Moscow, "It's very complicated. We're going to get some back. We're going to get some switched. There will be some swapping of territories. To the betterment of both." The Europeans fear, the betterment of both is a very unlikely outcome. There is zero indication that Putin has shifted an inch on his maximalist demands, either territorially or in terms of Ukraine remaining a punching bag for Russia without any security guarantees and with limits on the size and capabilities of its military. There is no sense in Paris, Berlin or London that seizing someone else's territory matters to this US administration. Just across the Bering Strait from the Chukotka region in the Russian Far East, Alaska was once a remote possession of the Russian Empire before being sold to the United States in 1867 for what was, even then, a paltry sum of $7.2 million, about 2 cents an acre. The idea that Moscow got a raw deal still lingers in a visit to our Alaska. As one prominent Russian state TV host dubbed it, bolsters Putin's nationalist credentials. Video clips of Trump misspeaking at a White House news conference ahead of the summit, saying he was going to Russia to meet Putin, have also been trending on Russian social media with captions saying the US president had finally admitted it is ours. For the rest of the world, though, the sole focus of this presidential summit is the war in Ukraine and whether Russia is prepared to make any concessions to end it. The White House has said Trump expects to focus squarely on ending the war in Ukraine, leaving other issues Moscow has said could be up for discussion for another time. On Wednesday, Trump promised very severe consequences if Putin doesn't agree to end his war, following a call with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and European leaders. But so far there's been little sign of real compromise from the Kremlin, which regards itself as having the upper hand on the grinding Ukrainian battlefield. As recently as last month, on a phone call with Trump, Putin reportedly reiterated that Russia would continue to pursue its goals to address the root causes of the conflict in Ukraine. These root causes having previously included long-held Russian grievances that include Ukraine's existence as a sovereign state and NATO's eastward expansion since the end of the Cold War. On Wednesday, a Russian foreign ministry spokesman said the country's position on Ukraine was unchanged. State media reported, more likely, Putin is up to something else. Details have emerged of a Russian peace offer reportedly made to U.S. presidential envoy Steve Witkoff before the Alaska summit was hastily arranged. In essence, the proposals involve Kyiv surrendering territory in the Donbas region of eastern Ukraine in exchange for a ceasefire. An idea the Ukrainian leadership has firmly ruled out. "I am not going to surrender my country because I have no right to do so," said Zelensky ahead of the summit, which he was not invited to. "If we leave Donbas today, our fortifications, our terrain, the heights we control, we will clearly open a bridgehead for the preparation of a Russian offensive." But Trump, who is expected to discuss the idea with Putin in Alaska, appears to like the sound of a land for peace deal, even one so unpalatable to Ukraine and its European partners. That clear difference of opinion represents an opportunity for Putin to portray the Ukrainians and the Europeans, not Russia, as the real obstacle to peace, potentially undermining Trump's already shaky support for the Ukrainian war effort. Trump has lost patience with Zelensky before. The Kremlin will have noted, and may do so again, if he were to cut off the remaining U.S. military aid and intelligence sharing with Kyiv. Ukraine would struggle to continue its fight even with bolstered European support. Ahead of the summit, the White House appeared to downplay expectations of a peace deal, characterizing the high-stakes meeting as a listening exercise. That may suit Putin just fine. It was, after all, the Kremlin who solicited the summit. According to the White House, possibly as a way of heading off a threat of US tariffs and secondary sanctions that Trump said would kick in last week. Keeping Trump talking may be an effective way of pushing back that deadline indefinitely. In comments on Thursday, Putin floated the idea of reaching a deal on nuclear arms with Trump. More broadly, Putin sees a unique opportunity with Trump to fundamentally reset relations with Washington and separate Russian ties with the US from the fate of Ukraine. A scenario that would also divide the Western allies. For months, Kremlin officials have been talking up possibilities for economic, technological and space cooperation with the US, as well as lucrative deals on infrastructure and energy in the Arctic and elsewhere. The fact that Kremlin's top economic envoy, Kirill Dmitriev, a key interlocutor with the Trump administration, is part of the Russian delegation to Alaska suggests that more talk of US-Russian deal-making will be on the agenda. And, if Putin gets his way in this summit, the Ukraine question may find itself relegated to just one of many talking points between the powerful leaders of two great powers, and not even the most pressing one.